Okay, what's positive behavioral support? You've probably seen this already. Assess the function of behaviors, which we're going to talk about. You have short-term prevention, and then I'm going to really spend a lot of time talking about replacing behaviors. But now, I was telling my class, I said I got in trouble giving a talk recently, and they said, well, why do you say things that get people upset? I said, well, I say things that get people upset because then they listen. If I say things that people already agree with, then they don't listen. They just say, oh yeah, I know that. So now I'm going to get some of you upset. So you'll listen. And then you won't ever invite me back to this nice state and nice winter, and I'll have to stay back in Albany where it's probably snowing again and muddy. Short-term prevention, what do I mean? Short-term prevention is when you have a child who might be getting upset because the work is too hard. It might be too difficult. Short-term prevention strategy could be to make the work easier. Okay? We can give you easier work, you won't get upset now. That's a short-term prevention strategy. Or we work with kids with autism who have trouble when things are not predictable. So one way to help a child who gets upset when things are not predictable is make them predictable. We're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. That's a short-term prevention strategy. This is teaching 101. If you say short-term in as many different ways and times as you possibly can, short-term, then people will pick up that short-term is really the issue here. It's not long-term, it's short-term. But what's happening? What's happening in the field as I go around and visit programs is it's often stopping here. Okay? We make the work easier, the behavior problems go away, we're done. We used to have arguments in the old days about things like restraints. Should you restrain a child who's hitting themselves? And people talked about kind of the humane aspects. It's inhumane to restrain somebody, and it is. Sometimes there are reasons why some people might do it, but you try to avoid it at all costs. What happens in those old days was I didn't like restraints because it really doesn't treat people well. But the real problem with restraints is the crisis goes away. Okay, so if I'm doing this, and I tie your hands down and you're not doing that anymore, no one is upset anymore. The crisis is gone, and you go to the next crisis. You go to the next kid who has a more severe problem. The meeting that you're going to have on Tuesday to discuss head hitting, well, we can put that off till next week because it's not a crisis anymore. The funding that you needed to help this kid, well, maybe we won't do that now because we have this other problem. These short-term prevention strategies end crises. When the crisis ends, people get complacent and they move on. I don't know how many times I've been in this situation just this year. It's just this time of year where people have said, well, in the beginning we had this problem, so we changed the room around, and then this problem went away, and then we were going to have a meeting in October, but that got changed, and then we were going to have a meeting in November. Well, but now it's April, and the end of the year is almost there, so we haven't done anything all year long. We haven't solved the problem. We've just prevented the problem. What I'll suggest to you as we go through this, there are ways to prevent problems, short term. But if you just use those, you're not solving anything. You're just delaying it for someone else to deal with. Okay? And what's happening in positive behavioral support now is too often we're stopping here. Okay? We're not moving on to what we really need to do is to get this person ready to live in a world that isn't predictable, to get this person ready to deal with work that is difficult. Not that you're going to have to work with difficult work all the time, but you're going to get faced with it. What do you do? Okay, you can't just change the world. We'd like to, can't. So we're going to need to do something else. And so that's why I'm going to spend most of my time talking about replacement. But again, be careful. I was in a program in New York City that works with kids with deaf blindness, and there's a young girl with her head next to music, a speaker. And I watched her and watched her and watched her and watched her, and basically all day she was listening to music. So I said, well, what's the plan for her? You know, what do you want to do? Well, what we have is this whole elaborate series, and then what she does, she gets choices. She gets to choose what she wants to do during the day. And that was primarily to help reduce some behavior problems. Well, she always chooses music. So we don't teach her anything. They didn't say, use those words, but that's what was happening, is that she's only just listening to music. Is that what you really wanted? Is that what you wanted to happen? That's maybe taking choice a little too far. Choice is good. Choice is very important. We'll talk about choice. But if you take it too far, the crisis is over, she's not getting upset, and now no one's thinking, what's in store for this kid who now just can only sit and listen to music all day? Okay, so keep that in mind.